Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Sin City Living. I'm Jason.
I'm Louie.
And we are here today to tell you what it was like breaking in. As always, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. We have content coming out every single week. And breaking in as a dealer, Louie.
Yeah. So when I broke in, I only knew blackjack. That was the first game I ever learned. That's the only game I was ever able to afford at the time. So when I broke in on Chinese New Year of 2018 or 2019. I can't remember, if I'm being honest. I don't remember. Either way, but I auditioned in December. I got hired. Did the whole hiring process. I started in on Chinese New Year of one of those years, and it was really busy. I was on day shift. It was so busy.
Lucky. Break in and get day shift.
I know. It was so busy, mind you, though, that they were asking everybody to do overtime on day shift, nonetheless. Hey, we need you to stay. Hey, can you stay? Well, it's my first job ever dealing, and it's only blackjack. Hey, can you stay? Can you stay for overtime? Oh, how much time do you need? I got off at 8. They asked me if I could stay till midnight. And I got to come back in the next day at 12. I'm like, I said, I can stay for a couple hours. Oh my God. And it was like that for about a week. It was like that for about a week there.
That must have been decent, though, for breaking.
Oh yeah.
When you get OT like that.
Oh yeah. It was not bad at all. Enough for me to go back and pay to learn more games.
The one thing I noticed from when I was breaking in, my break-in was kind of strange because I did go to one casino first for 4 weeks, but I never intended to apply there. They called us up while I was in school and said they were looking for dealers, and I went up there as a practice audition. I didn't really want to work for them. I already had an application into another place. And the other place I only worked at for a couple months before I went to where I'm at now, which is what I consider my real break-in. But one thing I did notice at the two break-in casinos is the general demeanor of, not the players. We'll talk about how the players know they're at break-in.
Yeah, they know.
We'll talk about that.
They know.
Of the floors, and especially dual rates. The thing about a break-in house is it's not supposed to be where you spend your career. There's nothing wrong with staying there, and some people do. They're very comfortable with the clientele. Maybe it's very, very close to where they live. They're making enough to pay their bills, so they don't feel the need to move on to the better paying gigs. But the break-in places, you don't make great money. Only a couple of them, when I say you even make good money or decent money.
Right.
So it's not supposed to be where you stay. So,
unless you're retiring, because there's a lot of old.
That's true. There's a few that have picked up dealing after they have retired, and they want something comfortable and small and local, and they don't need the money. It's just an additional boost. They're only doing it for the benefits that happens. But what I saw with a lot of the floors, especially the ones that promoted up from there, and the dual rates, is the first thing I noticed is there's a big turnaround, big turnover in the floors. Because if they can, the floors want to get away from the break-in houses as well, unless they're the burnout ones that can't go anywhere else because they burnt bridges. They're trying to get away from there. So there's always a big turnover. So I've noticed that the floors get promoted really fast. Dealers that wouldn't even be considered, would still be considered break-in in other places, are being offered dual rate positions.
Oh yeah.
And then offered floor positions. So you get that first. The second thing I noticed is, it's weird, but for a break-in house, it's almost like the floors and some of the dual rates are angry that they are still stuck in a break-in house. And they are absolute jerks to the dealers, as if they're complaining about how the dealers make mistakes, how this dealer can't do this, or this dealer messed this up, or this dealer did this, or I'm so sick of working with break-in dealers. Well, you're at a break-in house.
Yeah.
If you don't want to work with break-in dealers, go somewhere else that's not a break-in house.
Agreed.
And you broke in. Like, did you come out of school and you were perfect and nailed everything, or what? You know, I get it. Some dealers are frustrating. I have a few that frustrate me, but for the most part, you learn, you get better, and most of them, that's exactly what they're doing. They're learning, they're trying to get better, and the break-in houses are not the most welcoming. Don't get me wrong, I met some great people and some really funny people that I still know to this day, that were very helpful, very friendly, very welcoming. But I also met a whole bunch of people. I'd say it's easy 50-50 that were absolute, just horrid people to work with, and as an introduction to dealing. When I went to a non-breaking casino, what we call probably a tier 3 casino, it was night and day, the environment. The environment was so much different, and I was nowhere near skilled enough to be working there at that time.
Right.
But they helped me. Everybody was friendly, everybody was welcoming, everybody was helpful, everybody gave me advice. The floors didn't yell, nobody yelled, everybody watched out for each other, watched each other's backs, and it was amazing. To me, it was unfathomable after the other two casinos I worked at. So that's my main experience with breaking in, is that the general demeanor and attitude is not as welcoming. So, but I will say that in order to be a dealer, a successful long-term dealer, you do have to have a thick skin. So it does prepare you a little bit for that.
Yeah.
What did you notice about the players at breaking casinos?
Oh man, they they get away with so much. They get away with so much. Oh my God! And because they know they can get away with it because the dealers are weak. It's not the dealer's fault. They have no experience. But also they team up with the floors because the floor people, as he said, can be bitter. They can be, they like to pick on the break-ins, and they'll let the players get away with so much. I've seen a guy one time. I was dealing at this place, and I had been dealing at this place for about a year. I was still on swing shift before I ended up moving to graveyard over there. And we had this guy. He came from one of the downtown casinos, came to our casino, and he sends the dice, and like right before he sends the dice, it flips to like a 7. Right, and it's on accident. He didn't do it on purpose. And player goes, he just sent me a 7, and I'm on base. I go, he didn't do it on purpose. He goes, no. He sent me a 7. He said, in the stick, he's a new guy. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And then he's like, no, it's okay. He's like, the box tells him, bring him back, go and flip him. He looks at the box, and he looks at me. Both of those dice are going off that table, right? I said, well, why don't you just ask for new dice? He says, no, I want those same dice. Guy sends it back to him, picks the dice up, looks at me, looks at the stick, and looks at the box, throws the dice halfway across the casino. He leans in and looks at the box and says, same dice. And what do? They gave it to him. They gave him the same dice. Not only that, I had another guy, he was notoriously known for swiping side bets on blackjack. And they let him get away with it. I'm doing another one. I was dealing a blackjack game, and this old lady, a lot of people hated dealing to her. I didn't mind it. Every now and then she would tip, but one day she just caught a really bad hands, and she starts talking shit to me, talking trash, calling me all kinds of, F-bombs, and she sees, I'm Hispanic. She starts calling me pendejo and all kinds of stuff. And then she takes a chip and throws it at me. And then she smacks me on the shoulder. She's like, you pendejo. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? I ended up getting tapped off the game, and then they didn't do nothing about it. I come back in the next day, she's still there playing on the same table, playing her same $5 action.
Same clothes.
No, this crowd, this was their table. This was their table. It was the regular table. It was a $5 table, and they could sit there and flea it up for hours on end. And it was just the worst. And I had another one. I was dealing to a reserved game, and at a break-in house, 2,000 a hand is apparently that's enough for you to reserve your own game. You're playing $2,000 a hand, and the guy goes. He's playing with this lady. She gives me a $25 tip because he allowed this one specific lady to play with him. And he goes, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm tipping the dealer." He goes, "No, you don't do that. You don't tip the dealer." He goes, "You start feeding the animals, then they're going to start expecting more." And he tells me he's like, "You know what? He's like, you know what? You're too rich for me, kid. Go away. I don't want you dealing to me no more." So, granted, I was kicking his ass on the game, but still, it's crazy the amount of stuff they would let these people get away with. And not only that, the amount of stuff that the floors and the boxmen and the dual rates would just let the dealers do too. If there was a dealer dispute, they wouldn't care. If there was a dispute with the player, nobody would back you up. They would give the players what they want. You wouldn't get backed up. I got backed up a handful of times, but one day I was dealing a $5 blackjack game. The guy said, "You're too snappy with the cards. I don't like the way you deal." So I said, "I'm sorry, sir. I'm not trying to be snappy. I'm trying to just deal the game." And he's not even playing, mind you. He's not even playing. He's just sitting at the game. And then I'm dealing to the other guy. And then the guy's like, "Kid, can you stop?" I'm like, "Sir, I'm like, you're not even playing." And he's like, he gets all mad. He leaves. Well, I get tapped off the game. I get a write-up. Guy went and complained to the pit boss that I was too snappy and too this and too that. And he asked me, and I was like, and then I told the floor, I said, I don't know what I was doing wrong. I'm not trying to, He goes, "Nobody likes a flashy dealer, kid. This and this and that." I'm like, "I'm not trying to. I said, "Okay, you know what? I'm sorry." I said, "It won't happen again." Well, what else? What else can I do? So I just told him, you know what? And I told the floor, I said, "I'm sorry, it's not going to happen again." Yeah.
Yeah, the floors breaking houses are a special animal. We had a dual race that was one of those extreme just jerks to the dealers, and would sit there on the table and talk crap about the dealers with the players.
I had that happen when I
do some back and forth stuff, and so one day I'm working with this guy. He's sitting box. He's not feeling very good. We've got two open tables, so our table is standing dead for whatever reason. So his family walks by, younger group, looks like a couple of brothers and a dad. Walk by and they look at the table, and they've got that look of curiosity on their face, and I'm like, "Hey, jump on in. The table's fine." And like, "Oh, we're hitting the buffet. Maybe we'll come here halfway when we get back." And they walk away, and this bill rates in the box. Like, "I should send you back to blackjack. Jump on in." And he was grumbling to me, so I was kind of under his breath, just enough for me to hear it. But right then, as the pit boss and the shift boss were walking by behind us, so I replied to him very, very loudly, "Well, if you need to send me back to blackjack, please do, so it'll give me the time to ask the shift boss what I did wrong in inviting players to play my dead game." He didn't speak to me again for about 2 weeks. Not the rest of the shift, and not any other shift for a good 2 weeks. After that, he was a lot nicer.
Oh, I imagine he was.
But at that point, I was working a couple days a week at that place because I was already working at the casino that I really wanted to get to. So I also didn't care. Because it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. You don't argue with boxes or floors. That was just a perfect opportunity for me to be a little bit of a smart ass and not worry too much about the repercussions. But it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, like you were saying. You get that right up. If a player complains about you to the shift boss or security, or they make an actual written or formal complaint, whether or not you were right, in most casinos, it's an automatic write-up.
Yeah.
Automatic, don't think of it as a write-up. I mean, it is, but what they will call it is documentation of your complaint. They're just documenting that you received a complaint. Not saying it's right or wrong.
Right.
They're just documenting that you received a complaint. If there's a formal complaint, almost every casino will have the automatic write-up policy.
Right. Well, before we either end this video or continue on, I got a quick story to tell. When I first started dealing at this other place, another break-in joint, but you go for one break-in joint. That's usually what happens.
Stage up.
You kind of bounce around casinos a little bit, kind of stage up. Maybe you want to go work in a different part of town, get a little experience for a different crowd. Well, this one casino I worked at, when I went to the baccarat pit over there, I had already been dealing for, I want to say about 5-6 months already. Got a little experience under my belt, not too much, but I got a little bit of experience. And they go, "Oh, you break in dealers, you break into our place over here, you come and deal baccarat over here. You speak Mandarin? Do you speak Chinese?" I said, "No, I don't." And they go, "Because the baccarat room, it was separate from the entire casino." He goes, "Oh, well, 6 months ago, you don't speak Chinese, you don't speak Mandarin, you wouldn't even be allowed in the baccarat room." I'm like, "Well, I'm here now." I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do." He's like just quiet and I'm like mumbling under his breath. So I go tap in on a game, I deal baccarat. The entire time I'm dealing baccarat, I got these Bach players trying to bully me, because that's what they do. And then I got the floor person, the dual rate, mind you, who was talking all kinds of trash, come and start talking trash about me with the players. And in Mandarin or Chinese or whatever, looking back and forth, pointing at me, laughing at me. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna keep dealing my game. Oh, it's terrible. But the difference is, I moved up and Jason moved up, and these people are still where they're at now.
Or they're not.
Or they're not.
There's a few that I can think of that I know of that stayed their bad attitude, grumpy selves, and their little break-in houses. And guess what? The break-in houses didn't reopen.
Yeah.
They've been unemployed for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And that's because they chose not to move up.
Right.
And it looks like we are coming near the end of today's episode. Thank you for watching YouTube. As always, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And we will catch you next time.
Yeah.